Welcome to our series, The Future of. This week, our topic of discussion is the future of manufacturing. If you happen to enjoy this session, let us know by giving us a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date when we release more content. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. It's great to see everyone, and it is turned out to be a beautiful August summer day, so I'm glad to see that. I am Kathie Mahoney. I am the Center Director for Polaris MEP. We are a nonprofit organization that works with manufacturing companies. We do training, we do advising, and we do strategy development for companies to help them grow and stay in Rhode Island. And we also work very closely with organizations and are part of the ecosystem here in Rhode Island and the state. So that is what we do. So I'm going to ask the questions and then we're all just kind of respond. I'd like this to be very informal, a conversation. I'm going to do a brief introduction and then I'm going to ask each of them to introduce themselves in more depth, talk a little bit about what they do and where they work. So to my left, I have Lindsey Brickle, who is the Senior Workforce Manager at Polaris MEP, and she handles our workforce programs. Sabrina Kanaley, she is the lead designer. And we have Megan Robertson, who is the associate designer. And the reason I haven't said the name is because they are in the process of a rebranding and I have a pre-approved statement to read. So since 1975, the industry has associated the Goetz name with high performance technologies and composites. Continuing to expand their capabilities, in 2010, Goetz custom boats evolved to Composite Energy Technologies, or CET, doing business as Goetz Composites. Recently announcing their new corporate brand identity on behalf of CET, Sabrina Kanaley and Megan Robertson have joined us today for the presentation. So they work for the former Goetz Composites. If I could ask each of you to introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about what you do.
So as Kathie said, Lindsey Brickle, Senior Workforce Manager. I create workforce programs with my team. My team's over there, Aaron Clements, for employer-driven programs in advanced manufacturing. We are the manufacturing workforce intermediary with the state of Rhode Island, the Department of Labor and Training. So we partner to identify need in the state and then make sure there are opportunities for folks that are unemployed to get skilled up for high growth, high career, strong career pathway programs and careers. I come from a background in public policy and international development, and I've been working with Polaris in some form, first as a consultant and then full-time for about 5 years.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Kanaley. I am, like as Kathie was saying, the lead designer over at Composite Energy Technology, also known as CET. I have been a part of the company now for about 5 years. We are specialized in custom composite manufacturing. We focus our industry in creating ride vehicles and show entertainment attractions at various parks, along with making things for the Navy that go both above water and below water. So we get to do some really fun stuff in the design program, or design department, I should say, over at CET. But I'm very fortunate to also have Megan Robertson beside me in our office. So I'll let Megan introduce herself a little bit.
Hello, my name is Megan Robertson. I am an associate designer at CET, and I started off at URI with a bachelor's of fine arts. And through the years before I joined this company, I was at different jobs and stuff, trying to find a good place for me to find my roots to feel comfortable in. And I did find CET, and it's wonderful. I love designing and stuff, so it's really great.
So thank you. So one of the things that we're hearing from manufacturing companies is they are struggling to find workers. People are just not applying for the jobs. So part of the panel discussion today that we thought we would approach it a little bit differently is from everyone's perspective here. We've all come into manufacturing very different, from different pathways, different backgrounds. So thinking from a manufacturing perspective, we're kind of presenting it in a little bit of different light than the traditional industrial engineer, graduates from a college, goes to work for a manufacturing facility. So everyone here is impacting manufacturing, myself included. I have a marketing background and we are all working in manufacturing, but we're doing it very differently from different backgrounds. So I think that's going to be part of the conversation and the message that we're getting across today. It's not just a set pathway. You go to a vocational school or a STEM program at a comprehensive school, you go to a college or a community college, or you go to a trade, and then you get into manufacturing. I met with a company about a month ago. He was struggling to find people. He could not get this entry level position filled. He hired the guy at Dunkin' Donuts who was making $15 an hour, offered him 18, career, benefits, vacation, paid time off, because every morning when he went in at 6 o'clock in the morning, that guy was there every single day with a smile on his face, making his coffee and being very pleasant. So, and he's been a great, it had only been a month. It had only been like a couple of months when I met with them. But that's the kind of things that manufacturers have to think about. They have to think outside the box, not only for their market and for their products, but also for their future workforce. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I just kind of wanted to preface it a little bit. So each of you are making an impact in manufacturing in different ways and coming from different backgrounds. How has your pathway impacted you in your current role?
I started with working with this company called Extreme Costumes, and we were commissioned by Hasbro to make Transformers, like costume robots. And I really loved doing the blueprints and then crafting and making this amazing costume with a couple of other people. But unfortunately, the company didn't really last and it kind of went under. So I kind of needed to just grab whatever job. And my coworker at the time told me about the company that I'm at now. And he's like, oh, you're going to love it because you can build again and all this great stuff. And it got me really excited. And that's how I joined CET.
And then I would say my pathway led me over to a manufacturing job, is that I kind of have a little bit more of a traditional background where I went to a vocational high school on the Cape. I originally was thinking, all right, I'm going to become a teacher. This is gonna be great. And then summer before senior year, I was like, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if this is the right path. And so I was just trying to look for a job in a boatyard until I could figure that little tidbit out. And I couldn't find anything at the time. And so very fortunately, my science teacher knew about a vocational college up in Maine that specialized in boat building. And so I went up there and I just absolutely fell in love with the whole school. And fortunately enough, the founder of the company of CET, Eric Goetz, he was part of the board of trustees. And I knew how awesome the company was. And I had just taken the yacht design program and I was like, they're not taking yacht designers right now. You know what? I'm going to work on the shop floor and just work my way up. And so I worked on the shop floor for a little bit. And then kind of that little alternative pathway kind of brought me here today. Yeah.
How long have you been there?
So I have actually been there now for 5 years. So yeah, it's been really awesome. So it really, I only have my associate's degree and I really get to do some really awesome projects. So I love it.
Cool. So my background is not in manufacturing, although interestingly enough, my family is in textile manufacturing. So everybody in the state that meets me that knows about this company assumes I know everything about manufacturing. And I've used that very well to get into, get people to take me seriously, but there's nothing there. My background is in international development, which is has a heavy emphasis on program management. And I care very much about helping people. So I found a way to do that when I started doing some consulting with Polaris to create these manufacturing responsive programs for job development. And I have been very fortunate to work with Polaris and super excited when Kathie came on board because it just put Polaris in a really exciting direction where the workforce team gets to do awesome work every day, helping fill a need in the state and also getting to help people that are looking to better their lives.
So I have a marketing and business degree. I started, for those of you that don't know, there's an MEP center in every state, and I worked for the Massachusetts MEP Center for about 20 years. I like to say I grew up in the company, and I ran the center for the past 4 years. I was the center director there, and I came to Rhode Island. It was a family decision to move to Rhode Island, and the position opened up here in Polaris. But my favorite part of my job, and I understand manufacturing very well from 20 years of experience, but never worked in a manufacturing facility, is they do all the hard work. The project managers, our field staff, they go in, they do the training, they, have to handle the company and the culture within the company and the dynamics within the company. And I get to go in and hear about all the good stuff that they're doing. So that's my favorite part of the job. I love what we do. I love how we help manufacturing, and I love seeing the career growth of people. So that's just a little bit about my background. So for the panel, how has your role changed over the years? So think about it in the sense of not only in personally what you've been doing, but also what changes you've seen within manufacturing.
So kind of like I said, I started on the shop floor, and then I actually was very fortunate enough with my experience through school and working at Goetz. I actually got to partner with the company and actually train a lot of our guys on the shop floor. I had a group about 12 in which I was teaching them very basic composite work to then a little bit more complicated, and so my career has changed a bit on the company from being to then working in an office, and yeah. But I have to say Megan's story is way better than mine.
So I've been at CET for a little over a year now, and when I first started, I started at the very bottom as a composite technician. And this where it's boats and stuff like that is totally different from building costumes. But I did have a lot, I was very good at paying attention to detail and stuff like that. And that was noticed by my managers on the floor. And I moved up within 4 months to associate painter because I really love painting and art and stuff like that. And I helped with that as well. And then now a year, let's say 6 months later, a position opened up for designing, and the HR is like, "Oh, I see your resume. You do design work. Do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So I got to know Sabrina more and do more design work, and I love it because it reminds me a lot of doing the blueprint and the very beginnings of creating a structure or anything like that. So it was really great.
Yeah, and it was also really awesome the fact that we partner with Polaris, and so we were able to actually train Megan on the whole introduction of composite work, and it just has been absolutely amazing to see her grow. Yes, thank you.
I will say that the biggest change in recent years has been dealing with COVID and the workforce crisis that is being experienced by manufacturers right now and larger around the state. So with aging workforce crisis, as well as just folks being scared to go to work or not being available to go to work, or just not being available for workforce. So that's been we before were creating workforce pipelines that were very were in demand and used, but now it's more of a crisis. So everything is a little bit more immediate and more important.
What is your favorite aspect of working in manufacturing?
My favorite thing is seeing or being there for the meetings and people pitching out ideas, and then seeing the step process of actually making those ideas into a real structure is very rewarding for me.
And I would have to mimic that as well, in that being able to have a creative place of where I have to say only 5 years of experience is a bit, but it's not a lot to some of the people that I work with. They have 15 years of experience. They have 20 years of experience. So a lot of the times I'm completely stuck on this idea, and I'm really fortunate to have those experienced folks that I get to work with, and just kind of collaborate with them in that aspect and see these things just come alive. And it's also just like having this tight knit group is just like, it's a huge community. It's a huge family there. And I absolutely love it. So.
I really like working with companies like CET, where I get to go in and see what they're doing and walk around and see cool stuff that I have no idea how to build. And then also partnering with folks that are going through these training programs, developing the training programs, finding people that like want to learn, but maybe are not looking for that traditional college experience, getting them into these training programs and ready and, you know, in like 4 months for these careers with companies like CET who want to do right by their employees and provide a career pathway and growth opportunities. So this is a partnership that really demonstrates all the things I love about the work we're doing.
So can you describe an average day at work and what that looks like? Because there's a perception out there, not a correct perception, that, you know, manufacturing is one, dirty, and two, it's very mundane. You do the same thing every day.
So it is very dirty. I'm not gonna lie. But I like that too. Like I used to work at a law firm, and then to go into this manufacturing company, and it's great because, you know, for a lot of people who want to work with their hands, it's fine to get dirty and stuff like that. And it's really great because then you get more involved in the project. And day-to-day wise, now that I'm in the design office, I go in with tasks that I know I have to do. And we always have a meeting in the morning, which is wonderful because we catch up with where everyone is, where we need to go to finish something and continue further with new tasks. Like, okay, we finished this level. Now we need to continue on with this next level. Here's some new tasks. Who can take it? And then we continue from there. Like then we leave and then continue working. And then there's times where I have to leave and go to the shop floor to like measurements or data to replicate something, or just to understand like radiuses and precision and stuff like that too. And then continue back to the, like, you know, going back at it on the computer and stuff like that. And that's basically my day for sure.
I would have to say mine's pretty similar. But I would say it's about 60% in the office, just being very creative, working at my desk, working with this program called Rhino. And it's a very, very fun program that we get to use. And then about 40% of the day is going from meetings to working with the guys on the shop floor, collaborating with others. But it's a really fun day. You really are on your toes, really thinking creatively every single day, and it's really rewarding. We're doing all phases of production in-house. So we have design in-house, we have CNC department in-house, we have fabrication in-house, we have finish work in-house. So what kind of gets dirty within house is typically the CNC machine. We do work with synthetic foam, and so that area can be a little bit dirty and dusty in that aspect, but also in cutting the material. So not actually cutting carbon, but in trimming the parts, fairing them, you're filling and fairing and painting. And so in that aspect, there is some dust in the fields. But we prototype, we make production. We usually focus on small production. We really enjoy doing one-off designs or small production designs and trying to figure out complex problems or complex solutions or complex parts. So, yeah.
Yeah, when Aaron and I were there, probably like 2 weeks ago, the CNC lead was talking about how he gets to go into work every day and solve problems, solve puzzles. And we see that a lot in the folks that we train that are like engineering minded without the background or the skills necessarily. Somebody that's put together bikes or played with Legos or did a robotics league in school, maybe not necessarily a vocational or tech program, but is kind of predisposed to be handy. And that's a lot of what I spend my day doing, is helping design those programs and create those pathways. It's a lot of conversations, community organizations, working with the state government and DLT and training partners. And then trying to spend a little time justifying why it would be useful for me to get my hands dirty doing some training, because I really want to, but that really isn't useful.
Oh, come on. It'd be fun. And it's like, it really is like what I really appreciate being in a manufacturing job is that I am much more of a hands-on learner. I'm a visual learner. And a lot of the times when I'm talking with others, I'm grabbing a notepad or I'm running to the whiteboard and I'm drawing something out to be able to properly communicate what I'm thinking. And it's really nice to be working in a field where I can really succeed on that mindset. So it's not like, all right, I have to go write a giant email or a whole see, words are hard. Words are really hard. But no, it's really amazing to be in an industry where I can really succeed and also work with other people that are very hands-on and are like-minded in that aspect.
So what future trends are you seeing in your field, in your industries, and in manufacturing in general?
So some stuff that I've seen is it's still very hard for like women to get into those positions because they're not seen as at a men's level sometimes with like crafting or any of that. So when I joined CET and I got to show what I could do, they were like, wow. And I was like, no, you don't have to wow. Just say cool. Like, good job. It's all, that's great. And I hope that people are more open-minded with that because you don't know who's going to be so creative and help in different ways.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of skills that are needed as certain roles become more reliant on automation or computers. There's a lot of middle skills roles that are going to be in high demand around the state, and those don't require a 4-year degree and they don't require an associate's degree, and some of them are, some of them will. But right now, as companies or people are getting less scared of automation and realizing that they can do more with the same amount of people and put them on higher career pathways, I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis on making sure that there is the workforce ready to fill those roles in the state.
So if you could provide advice to manufacturing companies on attracting talent, what would that be?
My personal opinion would be in attracting talent, I would show a company that has a lot of growth within the employees themselves. I personally think that a lot of employees or a lot of individuals don't want to feel like they're pigeonholed. They don't want to be a number. They don't want to be part of the pipeline. They want to be part of the whole picture and be involved in that. And so what I really appreciate about the company that I'm working for is that they really introduce everyone into each aspect of the company, and so that they gain experience. And if someone really finds their niche, they can run with that, and it's amazing. But also we have people that can hop from lamination, and they can hop from finish work. They can hop from all over the place and have a really well-rounded mindset on that. So like, I personally think that's a really big thing to show. And then also appreciation for their employees. I think that's always a big thing, just kind of like giving examples of, especially after this hard time of COVID. I was really fortunate that our company was very flexible in allowing for people working part-time or people working from home, just giving those type of examples to your recruiters or recruitments or what have you, and showing that, hey, like we really like invest on our employees. I think is a really like giving those type of examples really helps a lot.
Yeah, I would re-emphasize that treating people like people is really important. Also showing clear pathways to growth within a company. Someone can come in without a college degree, without a lot of experience, and might be doing an entry-level production job, but will stay if they understand that the company is willing to invest in them if they invest in themselves, and they can grow into great careers. I think your current CEO has an interesting story about like where he started out in the company and where he ended up as well. So
Yeah, he was pretty fortunate. So so our current CEO or president of the company, Chase Hogaboom, he actually was an apprentice in Goetz Custom Boats when we used to be called Goetz Custom Boats. He knew of Eric Goetz and his experience with America Cup boats and building America Cup boats. He was very interested in the company, and so he internship there in high school, and then he went off to Brown. And then after going to Brown, he then worked for Goetz and worked his way up and is now the president of the company, which is pretty crazy and wild, I have to say. Yeah.
I would add to that, just look for non-traditional candidates. I mean, it's hard to find people right now, and there's a lot of really talented folks that might not be coming to reading the job board you post to, or might not be looking. So, reach out to Polaris or look at community organizations that are serving folks that you don't traditionally hire from. Broaden and diversify your candidate pool.
Hello. It's a very basic question. I was looking you up on the web and I couldn't find you. So could you just say a little more about what your company makes? I know it's boats, but it's yachts. Is it for competition or?
So originally, oh no, it's okay. Don't worry. We are, so we're currently in a rebranding right now. So the company website is down. If you look up Goetz Composites online, you can find it. We actually brought some brochures as well, but traditionally we were creating America Cup boats, maxi yachts, just mainly focused on the marine industry and building boats. But then the recession hit in 2008, and the company then grew to composite energy technology, known as Goetz Composites, where
That is composite energy technology.
that is our company name.
Oh, it's not a thing. It's a name.
That is a name.
Okay, got
Yeah,
it.
sorry. No, it's okay. And so we then started focusing on outside of the box. So we found that during the recession that yachts were not really selling, or not a lot of people were funding the programs to be sailing and racing yachts. And so Chase thought outside of the box, and so did Eric. And we started exploring outside of the box, and actually started going for show motion, show rides or park rides. And so we started doing more things for the entertainment companies. And then we've then grew our company even more and have now started doing some Navy contracts and doing things above and below water. So kind of depends on that. But we mainly specialize in custom composite manufacturing with carbon fiber. So it depends on the project itself. We'll do one-off custom items. So like the exact details, but like sometimes like if they want a prototype show ride, we'll do that. Or if there's a small production of that, we'll do that as well. It kind of depends on what kind of comes through our door and what we can handle at the time.
And where are you based?
We're based off of Bristol, Rhode Island.
Hi guys, Tom. The combination of a couple of things you guys said really triggers a thought. And the last one was think non-traditionally about your workforce. I think you guys are a great example of, well, if we don't know what we're going to be making, right? It might have been yachts, and now it's motion rides, and really our core capability is composites or composites in motion or something like that. Then a wonderful model is let's go get people that have done things like that, right? Could be a costume designer, and the profile. So maybe a question to you in terms of thinking about a future manufacturing workforce, but not traditionally like people that make the same many thousands or millions of the same things, which all went offshore, generations ago. How would I go staff? Or what skills would I want? What experiences? People that put things together, people that solve problems, people that have made, but they've also designed, people from costumes, right? Mattel costumes turns out to be a wonderful fit for somebody thinking about amusement park rides. So there's some characteristic set there that is non-traditional, but as non-traditional as the work we're going to have to do, but we don't know what we're going to be needing 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So how do we create those types of people?
I think really along the lines of right now during COVID, with all these people wanting to do these DIY and are very hands-on, a lot of the times when in recruiting people within the company, we have found that we typically ask, do you actually enjoy getting your hands dirty? Are you intimidated by the fact of doing something at home? Like a lot of the times, and even within the design department, we ask for people that are very hands-on, which is really, I think, is a really big aspect of that.
Yeah, people that are looking to work right now have all different skill sets. There are folks that want to do similar stuff every day, that want like the steady, consistent job. That job does still exist in Rhode Island, and it's very important. When I'm thinking about who I'd want for a workforce, it's really not the skills, it's the attitude. It's the wanting to work, wanting to problem solve. And I hate this word, or I don't love this word, but like that growth, but it is important. The growth mindset, like wanting to learn more forever. Like I am constantly wanting to learn something new and master something new in a way that like makes me really excited to go to work every day. And I get to do some really good things. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that want to, and I'm trying to find people for other companies that are just looking for something where they can make their impact, where they can be relied upon, where they can grow. And I think there's a lot of people who haven't been given that opportunity. Goetz is CET, Eric Goetz, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at CET, he's a huge advocate for reentry population, so the formerly incarcerated, and getting folks that other people would not look to hire into career paths in manufacturing, and working with reducing all the barriers that come working with that population. And I will say that's one of the reasons I love partnering with Goetz or CET. I'll get that eventually. But looking at the whole person, and don't just having them fit into one category based on one piece of information you know about them.
I just want to add to that. Sometimes it's looking within your company too, because of the pandemic and because of the baby boomers retiring. They're calling it the senior tsunami. They're all leaving manufacturing, and some we're seeing it a little bit sooner than we thought we would because of the pandemic. People have just decided to retire early. So if you're not going to find someone to fit that person that's been at your company for 20 years, that same skill set, they know your company inside and out, but you might have someone at like a step below that you grow to that position. And you think about, a lot of companies talk about succession planning and they only think about the C-level person, but think about the succession planning for anyone in your company, because if anyone walked out of there, there's a gap, especially if you're hiring people. If you're hiring 6-7 people, there's a gap in that company if you lose anyone on that, whether it be in the office floor or on the shop floor. So what's the succession planning for the people that are there? And someone had said it earlier, if you're willing to put that value and that training into the employees, then they're going to stay. There's going to be that loyalty for your own company. So, and then you grow them within the company, and it might be a little bit easier to fill an entry-level position than a higher up position. And those people that understand your company and understand the mechanics of your company are the ones that are going to help you grow in 5 years and help you get to that point that you're trying to get to. So that's my 2 cents.
When you look at the future of work and trying to build up the workforce, one of the things I know when I was a kid that was around, we had an auto shop. Our high school had all sorts of technical career paths. It wasn't a question of going the good path, which was college, or the bad path, which was going more technical. It was just 2 different opportunities depending on what you were interested in. A lot of that has disappeared over the years. Is there a movement towards bringing back that technical education and recreating those paths in high school that used to exist and really aren't out there anymore the way they used to be?
Yeah, I swear I didn't plant him in the audience, but I would say that's exactly what we're trying. There's a huge gap right now. There are great efforts in CTE a career and technical education in Rhode Island. Davies is the most well-known program right now, but there's a big gap between the other CTE programs and the manufacturing industry. And what we're trying to do is, I don't want to say rebrand, but career awareness with families and kids about what manufacturing careers look like today, and making sure that the CTE programs have access to some of the technology or programs or connections to industry that will allow them to get their students into these great opportunities for further training or directly into employment. Right now, we were awarded a grant to do VR training. This is through America Makes, and it is a grant that will allow us to partner with a couple of schools to do pathway exploration and manufacturing. So we'll get the Oculus headsets and explore with some CTE programs, pathways where students and their families can understand what manufacturing careers could look like, and then actually be able to do training just like these students who don't have access to a full machine shop. They'll be able to program a CNC machine. They'll be able to do blueprint reading in CAD using these glasses. So we're trying to bolster what's being done. And there's other people around the state and the CTE advisory board that are working really hard to do that as well. And it is a gap because manufacturing was not seen as a super attractive career. It was known as dirty and not really going in any direction. It's just not. Like, I mean, the people sitting next to me are designers in manufacturing. So, I mean, I know you said it's dirty, but I've been through CET many times. And I wouldn't exactly describe it as a dirty facility. It is cool to walk around and exciting to walk around, and they've got these amazing technologies and amazing projects going on. People get to be creative and problem solve. So I think, yes, there is a big effort around the state that's only really just getting started in earnest about promoting CET in broader populations than the most well-known and very effective training programs.
So what I wanted to say to that is, even though like I got a degree and stuff like that, but when I came to CT, I actually took one of the programs for a composites technician apprentice. And what's great about that is you had to put in a certain amount of hours in different things, whether it be sanding, finishing, or laminating. And for doing that, you got to learn more and got to like be able to physically like make these things, and it makes you understand and know your materials and the proper way to go about making things. And I actually got my certificate in that as well. And with that, that's what helped me become and move up to being a designer, because I got to know the materials and I know how to put that knowledge into how to create the next steps for other individuals later on who would take that program, which was amazing because now you have more of a well-rounded idea of how everything works.
Thanks. There's been a lot of talk so far about jobs that, the need for people to step into jobs right after maybe high school or after vocational training, which is awesome. What about the need for, say, like, I don't know if it's called advanced manufacturing or, so let's say college or graduate level, what does that landscape look like, say, in Rhode Island? And is there as much of a need for people to fill those roles or not? And if not, is it because there are fewer of those positions just rather than entry level, or is it because of some other reason? Just, not to diminish the importance of the jobs.
No, that is a great question. I don't mean to make it seem like we don't need advanced training and people with degrees and engineers. We absolutely do throughout the state. I just mean there's multiple pathways of getting there. Most of our programs have stackable credentials. So if somebody's not ready to go to college or can't go to college because they're working mostly full-time to support themselves, there are just multiple pathways to getting there. And it's not that there is a need for every position to have an advanced degree. So there is room for everyone. There is room for folks getting out of high school that maybe have a tech background or maybe not, and they weren't sure what they wanted to do. And there is room also for folks that have formal training in the science, like in any field, especially in the engineering field, for example, where people are coming in with those higher degrees, mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, any engineering, which is, or other fields as well. So very important on all levels. And I definitely don't want to make it seem like those jobs are not in demand, because they are. I think there's a lot of people that would love to have an engineer that has 6-7 years of experience under their belt. But since those roles are harder to fill, it's important that we have a group of employees that can step up and train into those roles.
Yeah. Sorry, when I came to this panel, so it was advertised as the future of manufacturing. So I thought we were going to talk about factories and techniques of putting, yeah. Okay, no problem. The hiring people is something very much on my mind, because I'm part of a startup, and we will be hiring people soon, a bunch of people. And this is making me very nervous, because it seems the future of manufacturing is that it's going to be pretty difficult to do that. We as a startup, we're not going to have the leisure to train people up, because we need to start up, so that's one observation that, I'm not sure how to, that I'm worried. The other thing is, I'm not sure, how do you guys work with companies? And I'm speaking to you two. How, like literally, do you connect? Are you a connector of employees to employers, or, who pays you?
So we work with companies in several different ways. Because you're a startup, I'll address the startup question.
Thank you.
So we would go in and discuss with you like what you're looking for, if you have something that's ready to bring to commercialization, we could be that connector to help you bring that to commercialization. We work very closely with RIHub, and we're actually entering into a partnership program. It's not an internal service that we offer, so we would connect you with like our partners, or we have third-party services that we would, depending on what you were looking for in that need, is how we would do it. With regards to the employees and the employer connection, we have training programs where we train currently either underskilled or unemployed people. And so then we make those people available to companies to help fill that gap in training. So that is one of the ways that we help companies. The other way that we help companies is like the work that we've done with CET. We have on-field staff. They all have a background in manufacturing. They've all worked in manufacturing for multiple years. And they go in and they're essentially an advisor, and they do some observation time, and then they make it a proposal. There is a fee for service. We're a nonprofit, but we're not free. But the advising time is free, that we do go in and we'll have a conversation and a discussion and that. And then if you decide to engage with us, depending on, we would give you a proposal and say, okay, for this service, it's, this number of hours at this rate. So, and it's all a discussion with the employers.
One of the things you had mentioned when we were talking earlier was that you're partnering with URI. So, and as a startup, you look at the resources in the state that are available, things like being in CIC, or partnering with Polaris, or having a relationship with a university. And I think those are all really good ways to get started and make sure that you understand the roles you're going to need to fill and what those roles look like. Because you're saying you're a startup and you're going to need to hire a bunch of people, but those roles might look very different than from what other company does. And so we might be able to help you identify that, or you might have, like, if you need a very particular role filled, there might be transferable skills that you hadn't thought of that people could come with. It would get them ready or get them close to ready for those positions. And we try to help companies make sure they're looking at all the alternatives for staffing for their company and identifying the skills that are necessary to successfully fill those roles.
So you're not someone I would come to and say, we need a factory manager. Can you find us one? You're more somebody who would.
We also kind of do that.
Oh, okay.
We when we can. So we
Yeah.
work with so many manufacturers. We work with Skills for Rhode Island Future. We work with the Division of Labor and Training and Real Jobs Rhode Island.
Uh-huh.
We work with the governor's office. We work with RIMA. We work with We Make Rhode Island, New England Tech, CCRI, the Steel Yard, Harvest Kitchen, the YWCA. We have a lot of partners, and we are there's so many community partners I want to keep mentioning, but we work with a lot of different nonprofits, for-profit companies, innovators, connectors. And what we try to do is make sure we're creating an ecosystem that connects people and use our relationships to make sure that manufacturing in Rhode Island is successful. So we will go out of our way to do whatever we need to do to support manufacturing.
So basically, if you have a question around manufacturing, give us a call, because if we can't help you, we know someone that probably can.
Yeah, this is super interesting for me because I work a few hours on the side for a talent acquisition company, and I'm filling positions for a manufacturing facility down south. And so this is super interesting. In regards to a lot of the candidates that I've been interviewing, this is a startup that I'm working with, and a lot of the larger organizations, it seems like they kind of feel like they, to your point, there's some turnover there. They're worried about their jobs, but they're looking more towards startups a lot of times. We're offering, or the company's offering, stock incentives with the company, a percentage of the company and things like that. And so they're very interested in working and using their skills that they've learned at a larger company, like working with like the different standards like AS 9100 and different things like that, and applying the things that they've learned to a startup. And that's more fun and enticing for people now. It's what I found.
So I think we're coming close. Okay. Any last minute questions that we haven't answered?
So I'm just curious, can you give us a picture of what manufacturing is happening here in the state?
So that's an interesting question. So I started with Polaris at the end of September, and I have been told that there's a very strong defense industry here. But I can't find exactly a number. So we've just hired someone, we've just hired a consultant to run an economics study on manufacturing in Rhode Island. So I can answer that question in March. So the average size of company in Rhode Island is small, and I don't think that's a surprise for anyone in this room. I think it's 96% of the companies are under 100, and then like 86% are under 50 and 76% are under 20. So if you kind of do the math there, the majority are under 20. So they're small companies. They're, a lot of privately owned, and they make everything. I have been amazed at the diversity of the businesses here. So there is no one industry sector that has a strong presence here. It's a very diverse, very innovative manufacturing landscape here in Rhode Island. When I was in Mass, there were plastic sections, and there was CNC, sheet metal and machine shop sections. You get all of that here across the entire state. So I think that's what makes Rhode Island very unique.
I do want to add to that. It is pretty amazing how much of a hub Rhode Island is. There's so many manufacturers here. There's so many different supply manufacturers as well. So it's pretty amazing. Like I'm from Massachusetts as well. And what I really love about Rhode Island is the fact that it really is all right here. You watch a documentary and you're like, oh yeah, this is over in Providence. Oh yeah, that's that's like only like 40 minutes away. It really, Rhode Island's doing an amazing job in the manufacturing industry. So great job, guys.
And everyone knows everyone in Rhode Island. So.
Kathie, can you answer? Are you seeing any future trends in manufacturing, or should we wait for that report?
No, I can give you a sneak peek. So we are seeing they're looking at data analytics. A lot of companies are looking at data analytics. They're looking at automation. And I don't want to present automation as a bad word. For those of us that were around when lean manufacturing was introduced about 10, 15 years ago, the initial perception was that it was to eliminate jobs, where it really wasn't. It was to do things better, faster. with the same number of people. And I think automation is doing that as well, because workforce is an issue. So can you, that pick and place position, you can hire a cobot for that. Whereas if there was someone in that position, you can now skill them up in the succession planning that I was talking about earlier. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing. Because of COVID and all of the transportation issues that people are having, they're looking to do things more locally. They're looking in Rhode Island first, and then they're looking in New England, and then they're looking in the United States. And it's pretty much that small sector piece of it. So the point of the study is to try to get, to Mia's point, to get a better understanding of exactly what is here in Rhode Island. And as an MEP center, that's one of the things that we do. We do some matchmaking for businesses. So if you have a material need or a supply chain need, we have access to the entire MEP network across the country. And we do the same thing. We do our connections in Rhode Island first, then we do New England, and then we do the United States. And we've been able to make quite a few matches for materials that people are looking for. So
One more question. Because of the supply chain issues, so many of my friends are having all the MEPs, and you and I text late at night sometimes and whatnot. Are we having support, the federal government, the federal representatives, the delegates, to build a stronger, supply chain in America? Like, what's going on?
So at the federal level, there are 6 executive orders that all include some component of manufacturing in it to specifically support programs for manufacturing. And then there's a bunch of EDA grants, economic development, I forget what the A stands for, grants that just came out that are to build the skills for manufacturing. One of them is Build Back Better. You'll hear that. There's also a Good Jobs grant that the state entities will apply for, or like a URI is looking to apply for, and we're partners in all of them to help build those manufacturing skills. The executive orders that are coming out, the MEP system they're talking about quadrupling it. So for Rhode Island, that's a pretty significant 25% increase in our funding. Nothing has been approved yet. I have to, do that disclaimer. So the budget hasn't passed yet, but there is conversations. And I sit on the center leadership team for the National MEP Network. And so we are talking about how we are going to prepare and help the MEP centers so that as soon as that funding is available, we can hit the ground running with the resources for the states. Internally, we have been looking over the past 6 months because we knew the money was coming on new programs that we can offer. Some of them is a training center that Lindsay is working on that we're hoping to launch in 22, summer of 22, which would provide additional training resources for the manufacturers that are going to need to the questions that have come up about where is that pipeline coming from. We are also looking at the trends. There's some inventory control issues that people are seeing because of the supply chain issues. Prior to the COVID, it was, first in, first out. Now it's, I can get this material. I'm going to buy 4 times as much as I need. And that's what I'm hearing with the companies. And they have to do it to stay in business because they can get it. So they're buying it, as long as cash flow isn't an issue for them. Because they don't know what's going to happen in 3 months. So we're kind of working to help them balance that piece of it and make those connections. So